today's episode, it actually comes from our PPI pub crawl, the series that we do, and this was a real popular one. We had a lot of fun. We traveled around doing this one, and anyway, we call this the swept path to enlightenment. So when we do these, usually when we're having a pub crawl where everybody has a brew or two and we're having a nice time, and it's relatively lighthearted, but we do get some of the meat here. So I've thrown a little extra stuff in today for those of you that did make it out. So anyway, again, I'm Kevin Closson, and then this part freaks me out a little bit. Come September, it will be my 17th year here at PPI Group. And I started when I was 10, you know.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't think you were that old.
Yeah, no. That's me. And by the way, that's a picture of when Wendy and I were in Chicago learning all this fancy new 2017 software. And then real quick, I've been out there quite a bit. I'm traveling all the time. My role has changed quite a few times throughout the years. I do a little bit of tech support here and there. I do a lot of the training, a bulk of the custom training. And my I guess focus now is more on going in, taking a look at people's processes, figuring out how we can streamline the template for them, and just make Civil 3D work better for them, basically, more efficient and so forth. And I've been all over. In fact, I just came back from Olympia, so I heard a couple of the folks up there were going to be watching, so I can't see you, honestly, but I hope you're doing well, and I have a chat with them a little bit later. And this is for absolutely no reason. I just like Harry Carey, and I love the picture. So anyway, here's our mission. Today's mission, and watch this before I even get going here. Watch this. Hopefully this shows up well. That took me hours. See how I pinned that little vehicle tracking? I'm so proud of that one. Let me show you that one again. That's sweet. That is sweet. If nothing else, I'm sure you're all oohing and awing here. But anyway, like I said, we were having fun with this presentation and kind of goofing off, like, the path to enlightenment and all that kind of thing. So obviously become one with AVT. So sort of an overview of what the program is. Alternate uses and experiences. I shared a few of them last week. There's a couple of neat ways, well, I don't want to steal my own thunder here, but there is a couple of different ways that folks are using the program, not just with roads. So I'll leave it at that for now. And then big picture here is try to understand where it fits within in the overall Autodesk universe or ecosystem, for that matter. And it really is becoming more and more integrated with all of the programs, and in fact I'll show a little bit with that. And then hopefully one way or another we'll try to squeeze out a little bit of fun out of this. And for me, I do these little things for me. I should have had like a what would you call it, like a little contest to see tell everybody remember the names, movies, right, things like that. Right.
We could have
got the most.
We could have had a prize and everything.
Yeah. Well, we could start now.
I got a ton of prizes.
Okay, well, we have a ton of prizes. In fact, being that it's live, that's if you have to give us the name. You have to email us. How about this? They email us the name of the people and the pictures
that were in today's presentation.
The more information.
Whoever gets the most.
Yeah, and whoever gets the most wins something.
All right.
Something awesome.
And at the end, we'll give you our email address.
Yes, deal.
Right.
All right, so anyway, our journey begins here. So what is this thing that we call AVT, and how cool is that picture? Just for some of you folks that are my age here, that was our video games right there on the right. I loved those things, and I had that exact double loop track. So I'll try to define it starting off in the old Autodesk speak, and then we'll kind of refine it from there. But at its core, obviously, it's intended to accurately predict movements of steered vehicles. Okay. Also, optimize road and campus geometrics. So as you're, it could be parking lots or roads, access roads, or whatever it may be. How can we optimize those sites? And then the best part of it is perform real-time analysis. And for those of you that haven't seen AVT, Autodesk Vehicle Tracking, basically it's just Autodesk's solution for auto turn. And there's a lot more to it as well. I'm actually, I've used a little bit of auto turn, but I don't mean to be a homer here, but it really is, AVT really is a slick program, fun to use too. So anyway, anybody that has an AutoCAD program can use AVT. And you can see up here, in the bottom right-hand corner down there, you can see I just called out in case you don't recognize the little icons. All right, but as long as it is an AutoCAD-based platform, I've heard rumblings for Revit, but I don't know when and if that's going to happen. But again, as long as you have, even if it's just raw AutoCAD, you can bring in, or this will actually sit on top of it, and you can perform these vehicle analysis. Now, of course, it would be in 2D, but the one that makes the most sense, in fact, it's, you know, having to do with vehicles, obviously it's going to be Civil 3D, and those two really work seamlessly together. So, speaking of these predicting movements, the vehicles themselves, once you install the program, I want to say, and darn it, I forget the exact number, but I think it's roughly 1,500 different vehicles come with it. And you also have access, depending on how your contract is with Autodesk, I want to say it's roughly 600 more vehicles after that you can download and install onto the system as well. So just kind of taking a real quick peek here, you can see that there's, you know, this is, I believe it's Boeing or 747 or whatever it is, 737, whatever it is. And then a little tough to see there, I think, due to the color, but there's a semi. You can view these in different views, but darn near any vehicle that you can possibly think of, light rail, everything is in this thing. And the beauty of it here, and if my friends up north there are seeing this, this is one that was given to me a while back. This is just a cut sheet. You can customize anything you want. It's very, very easy to customize, and I actually added a little bit more just to sort of show that off. The idea, so before I do, it's due to its size there, you can see it a little bit better, but you can see all my chicken scratch on there, and I have to try to find out the, you know, wheelbase and different measurements. There is no actual standards to this, so just to forewarn you a little bit, if you do download a sheet from wherever it's at, usually from a vendor that's selling the vehicle, they'll have all of these specs, and you will probably have to do some simple math just to kind of boil it down. But I added this one in here just to give you a little feel for it. So if I were to take this one, the program comes with a wizard, and that wizard allows you to, well, for starters, you would actually go and find something that's relatively close. And then once you've found something that's close, you can pull it up in the wizard here, or you can even start from scratch. I usually try to find something close. And then it'll just bounce you through, and you can see this is, you know, one of the many. You can see right here where there's a button that says next. Once you've set like a wheelbase or whatever it is, your axles and on and on and on, it just keeps jumping you through one after another. Now, last week, when I was working with some folks up north there, we had a very simple sheet. I think there was only 4 settings, so if that's all there was. But again, on these more complex ones that have vehicle heights, mirrors, you know, multiple hinge points, anything you can think of, all of that can be brought in and easily customized. And then in a nutshell here, what you basically do, and hopefully you can see my little cursor here, yeah. It starts off with a library. It comes with an extensive library, as I said, roughly, like I said, 1,500. You would find something close. Underneath that, there's what we call groups. So it's just a grouping of vehicles. And then you have the actual vehicles themselves. And then from there, it would be each vehicle's individual spec. And I say all that, and I know you're not seeing it here, but I say all that because this can then be saved in that drawing. It'll always remain in that drawing. So if I were to send this to somebody, they'd see it. But however, if you did take the time and go through that process of customizing these vehicles, you can actually save that information back into your own group or library. The idea is, and the way it works right out of the box there, is you cannot adjust the actual vehicles that come with it. Those are standard. You know, those you don't touch because you don't want to be messing anything up. So you grab one, you copy it, then you start that wizard. All right. So anyway, just looking at on the next bullet point here is optimized road and campus geometrics, and you can see I have 2 examples that I threw on this slide. One is of a parking lot. The vehicle tracking, again, if you go out and check out our website, you'll see that, or that video I did a year or 2 ago. It actually looked quite a bit like this. It will, to standards, to your local area standards, we can lay in parking lots. It'll give you the parking lot count. You can see up in the corners here where there could be possible locations where there would be parking islands or whatever. All of this can actually, it's designed from a standard. So my point is, it's not a I don't know how to explain this. It's not just a bunch of lines, arcs, and circles that you're throwing in there. There's actual true design standards that are behind it as you lay that information in. Okay, and of course, all of those standards can be copied and customized to your exact needs. And then on top of that, you can perform real-time analysis both in 2D and in 3D. So once you lay that information in, we can, which we'll see here in a little bit, the vehicle draws. You can see the chassis. You can see the wheelbase. The envelope of the vehicle itself, how it's making it around corners. So that would be in 2D. Then you can even run a three-dimensional evaluation to see if if you're making it through an intersection, or if you're running a low boy or something like that. Is it going to be accidentally milling the system or milling the road, working against you? And then the other thing you can see up there, that is a roundabout. And on the right there, and I'll actually throw something together just so you can see it, how easy it is to create these things. But on the right there, that's what they call a HUD, that little chart. We're getting real-time analysis where I start moving things around, and we'll see it here in a little bit, where it'll show different colors if you're staying within guidelines and meeting certain design standards. So anywho, let's get weird here. We're going to start off, and a big part of this presentation, where it originated, was we wanted to show different uses for vehicle tracking. It's not just the standard, let's drive a car, let's see if we can get this truck around the corner. I mean, obviously that's what a bulk of our work will be, but there's a ton of different uses out there. In fact, Wendy and I, when we were back east there, we were seeing all of these neat workflows, and that's, I don't know, it excited us. We thought it was slick. So we wanted to sort of show some of this stuff off. And I have 3 different ones here. I may talk about a little bit more, and if anybody has questions on any of them, feel free. But the first one we'll be looking at like a forklift. Next one will be an airport with a baggage claim. And then a hospital, and I forgot, I left that in there. Sorry, Wendy, goofing off. It's your little scooter there. So it's.
You promised you wouldn't tell anybody about my little scooter.
Well, it's very cool. She's got flames on it and everything else. It's very nice. And in that hospital also, we'll take a look at the what's referred to as a gurney there. I'll show that off here in just a second. So anywho, so starting this thing up here, we're starting off by looking at this forklift, and right there is the library, and it's kind of small, but the vehicle that was selected was a interstate semi, and very similar to auto turn. You just start drawing this in and you proceed, and there's some great tools built into this where you can see where they're starting to make that turnout, and what I just selected there was pick alignment. I can select that line, and what that's going to do is orient it to any line. Even though it says alignment, it's not truthfully a true alignment. It's just it could be a polygon, a box, whatever it may be. And you can see where that's backing up. And that's sort of the traditional vehicle that everybody, or the use that everybody's, for the most part, the 2D. Now what's going on here, this is called placing an outline, so you can further recognize this. And that just draws that vehicle in a still shot there. Very nice. And then now we're going to go inside the building, and I may speed up some of this so I don't bore you to tears here. But the next move is actually going out and grabbing a forklift. Now these forklifts, just like any other vehicle in this program, you can actually take it, you can change its turning radius, you can make it yours basically. Again, just get the specs, find something that's relatively close, and we can go right in and change that up. So I'm going to place that inside the building, and I'm proceeding here. I've just basically started with orienting the forklift, and you can see where it's, I can slide this up and down, and again, I'm just using a 90-degree angle there. That would be going into the truck. Again, picking an alignment, so it'll orient to that line as it's backing up. And then, who knows, this could be something like, I don't know, a Costco or some kind of warehouse or whatever it may be. Will we be able to make it around that corner? And then notice again, I'm just picking alignments, so this makes it so much easier. Now, by the way, I could be just drawing this freehand, It does get a little sketchy when you try to do that. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's supposed to be like that. It's just there's a lot of picks and clicks, and you can accidentally mess things up, and I'll show you here in a little bit. So there, the whole concept is I'm just with these extra little grips. I can grab these, move it around. You can see where we're looking at the envelope there, like exactly what's happening. Just further refining, just making sure that this vehicle can make all of these turns, and it looks like we're pretty good shape. And then I could return back. Now that is of course real-time 2D that we've been discussing. Now this is actually playing it, and I'm just dragging the little it's that little bar in the upper left-hand corner, or I can just hit play and it'll draw, or we can watch that vehicle make its path. Now this would be in 3D, and I spoke to a few of you personally on this. This is not magic by any means. I mean, every time you see something like this, it has that feeling like, oh goodness, how hard is this to pull off? It's not hard at all. This same command, all we did was animate, and we threw it into a quick orbit there, so we can see it in a 3D. And then all of those possible shelves or buildings or whatever it is, that's just a simple extrude command. Just type extrude, grab the closed polygon there and drag it up to whatever height that you need it to. Okay, this can be also, we could have this on a road if we wanted it to, if this was out in the, obviously on a road, or this is just at a 0 elevation, or for that matter, whatever your elevation is. All right. Then the next one we're going to take a look at, again, kind of giving you a little bit of an outside the box concept here. Whoops. So this one is in a, this one is at the airport, and over here what we're looking at is the staging area, or sorry, the, hang on a sec here. There we go. I'm selecting a golf cart. It's a 6-person golf cart. I'm going to put it in its staging area there. Okay, and this would be picking up folks that maybe aren't getting around so well at the airport. So as they come off the plane there, we're backing up, and the whole idea to this is I want to see if I can get to, we're leaving customs there, and I'm trying to get to the baggage area. And can I make these turns? And I'm going to try to loop around this thing. And see, now right now I'm drawing this manually. See how that's got that, as I get around there. For those of you that have dabbled with this, you know that this can get a little tricky. Okay, and that would be just working its way through. If I don't like it, I can keep backing up, and again, that's that real-time analysis there. From here, we can pick another alignment. See if we can squeeze through, and we're trying to work our way out to the exit. And then that would be the drop off to the exit, and then couldn't back up and get back into that staging area. So this has helped out a lot of folks with, on the architectural side, obviously, where are their designs going to work? Is the equipment that they're putting inside the buildings going to, are they placed correctly? And the one I really like is this hospital one. I thought this was kind of slick. So starting off with this one, this is the mobility scooter, and this would be coming, and this is just one of the scooters that comes with the program. Again, you can customize it to whatever your needs are. And this would be if a visitor came to the hospital and they needed to get down to any one of the doctor's offices or whatever it may be, and they're working their way through. Just picking another alignment here, take it around that corner. Now coming from the west, you can see where it makes that corner, there's plenty of room. So getting into any of those buildings wouldn't be a problem. But once we got around on the east side of this thing, and if we were trying to turn into one of these buildings, that's where it's going to get pretty tight. So this is, we'd have to figure out, possible, alternate design at that stage. All right, so going down to the south now, the southern end of this building, I'm going to do the same thing, drawing using that same scooter. In this case, this is from a west access, and this might be one of the employees. And it's the same idea. You just proceed along, and I'll zooming in here just a bit. We're getting by that wall. Kind of squeeze around the corner there. Just following these alignments. And then right out through the door there. So that wouldn't be a problem. That shows that we'd be in pretty good shape. All right, so down here, we're looking at an ambulance, and of course, it would start with a vehicle. When the ambulance pulls up, can it make all those turns? Yeah, check, we're good there. And then notice there's hospital bed. Here's the gurney. And once you place it, you orient it. So this would be coming out of that ambulance bay. And where we're trying to go with this is to the emergency room possibly. So it's not too bad, kind of tight going around that corner. But here's where it gets a little sketchy. It looks like it's making it, but it is tight. So you can, and we can get it in there now. If all works out, or I would say that we'd be okay on that. Now up here, we're going to be looking at if we needed to get to the surgery room. So coming from that same location and working our way around the corner and trying to get into one of these surgery rooms, and that's real tight there. And trying to line that up against one of the beds. So that's pretty tight.
I hope we're not in a hurry.
Well, it depends. It depends.
I hope it's not me on the gurney. No, I'm on the scooter.
I'd be smashing if you're on it, I'm smashing into walls. And then basically see if we can get our way right out into the to the recovery room. So just different ideas. Now, I shared this last week with a few folks, if they happen to be listening. One of my favorite ones I saw was, this was when we were back at the, was back east there when they were showing these new tools off for us. My favorite one was the great big, what do they call those? Like the Titanic, what do they call? That's a bad, you know, the great like big ships. I can't think of the name. Cruise ships.
Cruise ship.
So these things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And where they take off like out of Florida there, they had, they're getting so large that they can't get these things turned around. So as it's coming into these docking locations, and you know, they have a lot of different, you know, boats and, you know, different tugs and whatever it is to get these things oriented. Can it make the big turns? And that was probably one of the neater out of the box uses for this program that I've seen. So just throwing that out there. Okay, so and if there's any questions, you know, feel free to ask away. So now going a step further here, this is what I call, we're moving into the heavy lifting portion of the program. And this is referring to the roundabouts portion of the program. Now, I'm, you know, of course I'm being a little bit simplified, saying as easy as 1, 2, 3. But then the neat thing about the program here is to add a new roundabout, you go in and it actually adheres to design standards. So when you start throwing this information in and you draw in a roundabout, and I'll actually demonstrate it here live in just a second. Surely not hard, but as it gets laid in, it uses true design standards. So you're not just, again, drawing lines, arcs, and circles. Now, is it what you need? Well, it'll probably be close. When we were at the CRAB conference, we talked to quite a few folks and on this subject matter, and you know, where it'll get you to as far as just laying this in, and I'll throw it in. You'll see it here in just a second. But it's amazing how quick and how much of the design you can get done in almost immediately. And then as far as a corridor being created, from there we're still going to have to go through and make edits and all of that. But just that initial layout is mind-boggling how much faster it is. So the process is kind of jumping you through the steps, and I'll show you here in just a second. You add a new roundabout. You select your design standard. You know, what is it? And you place your location, which is often referred to as a circle location. Then the second part of it is you add in your intersecting alignments, or what are often referred to as arms. And you can see in this one I created 3 of them there up to that point. Everything, again, is adhering to standards there. And then the final part of it is the edit and refine stage. So you'll see once I throw something in there, there's a whole series of grips. And in that picture is a nice example of it. These grips are everywhere, and you can alter darn near anything on this. And again, in that bottom right-hand corner there, I'll blow that up a little bit. The HUD, it's the heads-up display. That gives you colored, coded, real-time data. If it's green, you're making the standards, and there's actually 3 colors. There's green means everything's good. Red means okay, we got a problem there. In this case, it looks like the speed. And then there's also sort of an amber, which means you're getting close to breaking one of the predefined rules. All right. And then after it's all said and done, and probably one of the better parts of this is you can actually go into the properties of this, and it has an excellent interface that allows you to bounce back and forth and clean everything up right there. And you'll see that. I'll show it in just a moment here. So in fact, let's bounce out to it. All right, so what we're looking at here is just a couple of alignments. This is real simple. This is just a drawing from Autodesk, and there's not a lot to it. A couple of different alignments here. And for those of you that have been using the program, or for those of you that are inexperienced with the program, just remember everything comes down to setting up something first, like selecting a standard or selecting a vehicle, and then you perform whatever task that needs to be done. In this case, I'm going to go into the Roundabout standard. It's like a library or explorer here. It being this may be a rural single lane roundabout. Just looking at these, I'll give you a second to poke through them. Okay, there's double lanes, all kinds of stuff. But I'll select that and I'll proceed along here. And then as I'm looking here, it'll automatically pull my scale for me. If there's surfaces that I'm tapping into, and I want to make sure I'm not going to draw any corridors in yet, but I can very easily, after it's all said and done, go right into this and say, okay, create a corridor from it. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay to this, and here's where it's checking my drawing for scales, and it'll give me my roundabout. I can name this thing, and I'll say okay, and there's my circle, and wherever I want to place it, I'll just pop it in somewhere close. And it's telling me, okay, select a line defining the new axis. And here's where you just basically work through, one at a time. I'll say this is my incoming here. So I'll select that, check. I can name it if I wanted to say this is the east arm or something like that. And I'll just say okay. And you can see how that's starting to draw in, and I can just work my way around it. There's the next one. And I'm just doing this for speed here, kind of bouncing through. Third one there. And then if I wanted to get real fancy, I'll make it all 4 directions. I'll say okay to this. And if I hit enter, you can see now all of these grips that are showing up on the screen. Now if I zoom in a bit, there's those charts that we were talking about. And this is the part that always got me. This was the ooh and ah part, where all of this is dynamically linked. And if I were to grab that center point, and you can see I can move this whole thing around. I'm trying to go slow so it's updating on your screens back in your offices and home and wherever the heck you're at. Okay. Worth noting that all of these numbers again are updating. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see those different colors that I was talking about. I really take this out, and if I go too far out, obviously it just says nope, can't do it. Okay, so with all of this, just real quick, I can pick my my corridor, or my corridor, it's not a corridor yet, but my roundabout, and then depends on what we need to do with this. If I want to edit this, and I'll just show some real quick functionality of how user-friendly it is. So I'll go into my, whoops. So I'll select that. I'll go right into the corridor properties. And as we look at this, oh boy, let's see if I can get that back over. There we go. here's our different arms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I didn't name them, but if I were to expand it out, this is all of the information on the inside of it, or underneath it. So if I go into, like, say, the approach, it'll show me exactly where I'm at, and with the numbers, once we start highlighting it, you can see where it's it points exactly to what we're talking about. Okay, there's the exit, same idea, so forth. Excellent. If I like it, you know what, I'll just close this for a moment. You also have a whole series of what we can do is what we want to add to it, signage. You know, all of this is happening on the fly. Do I want to add in crosswalks? And you see where those crosswalks would be laying in, also with the signage. Okay. And then finally, I'm kind of up against time here, but if I wanted to, say, throw in something like or I wanted to create a corridor. So we can select it. And there is a little bit of tricks with this. You know, get a hold of me if you ran into a snag or two on this. I'll make sure my email's up at the end of it. But when I am satisfied, I can close this down. I can go right back into the properties and locate the corridor. And I'll just say create all my alignments and everything else that's going to work with it. And when I hit apply, you'll see in the bottom right there, it's going to grind away thinking about it. Boy, you should see Wendy's face. Just amazed. Just amazed. Okay, and I'll close this down. Now, I just did this simple. I realized that, you know, I'm not trying to overstate this by any means. You know, this may or may not be what you're looking for, but this is where you would have to go in and start, you know, making you know, whatever edits or whatever it may be that you need. Surfaces can be built from this. So if I just grab this, and it's always kind of the dangerous part here, but let me take it into a quick viewer. Rotate that back maybe. Yeah, it slowed down quite a bit. But there you can see that that is a true three-dimensional corridor. I'm moving a little slow on me, so I'm going to get out of this before major problems arise. Oops. Okay. Now, well, shoot, I can't help it. That technical side comes out of me. If you do build a surface from this, you may get a little bit of a bumpy ride there if you look at the actual surface after it's all said and done. Just remember that, in fact, everyone's got to walk away with something here. So real quick, in the corridor surfaces, when you go to build it, don't just build it from your links. Build it from the feature lines as well. And this is just a little trick that adds actual break lines to this thing. So if there is any, you know, edge of pavements that are going up and down just due to triangulation, there's a lot happening in this thing back here. There's a little tip for you. There's the tip of the day. Ding, we need a little bell.
Wow, next time.
Next time we'll get a bell. I got a bell in my office here. So, all right. And then let's see, maybe something else here. We were talking 2D, 3D. Obviously, I can lay vehicles in on this. I can drive it. But I did show this off the other day, and this might be worth a real quick peek. One advantage of this program over some of its competitors is it does have the 3D capabilities. So we can actually run a quick report on this as it, and what we're looking at, this is just a low boy. So if I were to pick this thing, and I'll just insert a quick profile of it, and this just goes directly into your drawing. You can get a little feel for what we're looking at there, and I'll leave it highlighted, otherwise you won't see it so well. But there's a couple of hinge points. I think it's the ground clearance is quite low. I think it's like a ½ foot or something like that. This is just the default one. Again, all of these can be modified. So then what we're looking at, here it is here, and they've already drawn it around this thing. All right. Now, if we wanted more visuals of it, of course, I can select it here, and oops, and maybe we just want to get a little bit better feel for how it's making around that turn. So I'm going to place an outline, and I can set all different kinds of things on or off, whatever it is that I want to see. and hopefully you can see that I'll drag that around and I'll highlight it after the fact. But as it's coming around this, and I know it's kind of dark there, but I'll place something roughly here, maybe something up here. I'll just get out of it, and then by leaving it highlighted you'll see it a bit better. So what I'm looking for in this is, is again, not just can it make it around the corner. Now it looks really tight, but it looks like it can in fact get around this corner. Of course we have to stop some traffic and whatnot, but looking at it a bit further, what's going to happen when the wheels are at the low point over here, and once this gets a little further up, and the wheels on by the cab are also in the low point by the edge of pavement. And so we can run a vertical calculation. This is a surface. That's that corridor. There is elevation information there. So just by simply check for a ground conflict, it's going to check all of our scales and whatever else. And after it's all said and done here, you can see, and what it does is it lays in hatches where in fact it would be intersecting, where we'd be inadvertently milling the center line there. So that would be a problem. So we'd have to figure out an alternate route or different vehicle or whatever it may be. That clearly isn't going to make it around that corner. So, all right, so moving on here, I'm going to get back into my PowerPoint and I'll open it up for questions here in just a minute or two. So kind of finishing off that whole concept of heavy lifting. And where this program fits in the Autodesk ecosystem is another product that I've been showing off a lot lately in classes here and there is the InfraWorks 360. And InfoWorks, a great program, excellent preliminary tool for laying out quickly, very, very quickly, and aggregating data, basically a preliminary design. So you can pull this up in a certain area, draw some roads in, whatever it may be. And then if you have an intersection and you're looking at it and you're thinking, we need to possibly put in a roundabout for traffic flow or whatever it may be. So it can start in there, and InfoWorks is also using, and mind you that it's a very design-wise, it's not a precise design, but it is two true tables. I mean, it does adhere to standards just like vehicle tracking does. So we can pick any intersection and say, let's change this, and there's a whole series of roundabouts that you can select. So from there, once you convert that intersection into a roundabout, we can kick that information out into Civil 3D. And Civil 3D is still our hardcore calculator. That is our design tool. However, in InfraWorks, we can start with these preliminary designs, 10 to 1, if not better. I mean, it's amazing how quick and easy it is to create that information. As I kick that out, it's just to export out whatever roads, surfaces, whatever I want into Civil 3D. I can then pick it up in Civil 3D, and it's very similar to like importing, say, like a land XML file or something like that. However, it's a file format, and as it comes in, the trick is you have to have vehicle tracking, and vehicle tracking will allow you to manipulate that everything from the profiles and everything else, or well, in combination with Civil 3D, we'll be able to manipulate that roundabout and slowly, or I don't know, slowly is not the right word, but basically get it dialed in. Okay, now usually that's where it stops, but you could in fact take it back in. Once it's a completed design, you could take it back into InfoWorks if you were trying to sell the concept or make a beautiful presentation. So very slick. And again, looking at this before I move on, the trick is in order for you to use InfoWorks, that's where this vehicle tracking, it has to be installed on your Civil 3D. That's where that manipulate. If you don't have it, you're not going to be able to get into the editing tools and the design tool. All right, so I'm going to open this up to questions here. That was a big day at Wrigley Field. That was the, remember that, Wendy? There was a whole parade and everything else.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yes.
Actually, weird story. Can I tell a quick story? You got 2 seconds?
Sure, while we're waiting for people to type in their questions.
Yeah, while you're typing in your questions. This is true. the person that took this picture, this is the craziest thing in the world. So we're outside and we're like, hey, we need to get a picture in front of the Wrigley sign. So we're standing there and somebody's walking by, mind you. And we go, hey, would you take a picture of us real quick in front of the sign? So they take the picture. We don't think anything of it. Thank you, you know, nice people, exchange niceties and whatnot. We go sit down, got great seats. We're behind home plate. Excellent seats, by the way. And as we're sitting there, I kid you not, who sits dead in front of us, seat for seat? The people that took our picture. Like, mathematically, that cannot happen. I think that is insane. So anyway, Wendy's going, come on, Kevin.
I know,
so,
that really impressed you, and me, I'm just like, okay.
Do you know what the odds of that are, though?
Well, I know, but I don't think, my brain doesn't think in numbers and maths and data.
It doesn't, it's not easy being like Rain Man all the time.
I'm just like, oh, cool, that's a good coincidence.
Anyway, there's a, you know, for additional information, I'll leave that up for a second. There's, you know, obviously both mine and Wendy's emails. There's a support email. What else we have in here? Phone numbers if you need to contact us. Again, this will be available for what it's worth, but the other one that I was talking about, you know, email me and I'll send you a link to it. That's the one that's more in depth as far as, you know, kind of the bells and whistles. It has to do with parking, driving, manual driving, following, you know, all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, so 2 things before we sign off. If you are currently using AutoTurn, I highly encourage you to find out when your renewal is. Prior to your renewal, get a hold of your PPI account manager and just do an apples-to-apples comparison. And as far as, you know, price and functionality, I think you'll be really surprised and pleased with what vehicle tracking can do. If you're not currently using a swept path analysis program,
try saying it with braces.
I know. Try saying it at a pub crawl after you've had a couple. Yeah. Then I encourage you to also reach out to your account manager. It doesn't cost anything to learn more. We will get you in touch with Kevin. You can either get on a webcast or a web meeting real quick, or he can also come in on site and meet with your team, learn what you're doing and what the best solutions would be. So it's just one of the services that we provide, and there's, you know, no cost or commitment required. Just get in touch with your account manager. So I think that's about all we've got. Thank you for joining the Wendy Show on PPI TV.
This is great. This is great. Wendy, thanks for having me.
You see how I did the Wendy Show?
Yeah, it's a good show. That's a good show.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you joining us as well, and watch for future webcasts. And hopefully one of them is yours, and you'll get the PPI portfolio.
And feel free, if you do have some other questions, like when he was saying, you know, I actually enjoy digging up information on this. So, you know, if there is some comparisons or whatnot, you have my email address. It's just Kevin, K-E-V-I-N-C, as in Closson, at theppigroup.com. And just, I don't know, send me any and all questions there. I'd like to dig into it more. So let me know.
Okay, great. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.
See ya.